On today's show, we break down the Leafs' impressive win over Nashville. We'll give you an update on Joseph Woll's injury status. And we got a game tonight. Let's preview the Leafs and Islanders as Toronto heads to New York for a quick little back-to-back trip. All that and more on today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morisuti. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. What's going on, Dave? How was your weekend, pal?
It was a very good, tidy weekend. I'm not going to lie.
What'd you get up to?
Well, I mean, you get a Leafs win.
Yeah.
Cowboys beat the Eagles.
Yes, they did. Cowboys dismantled the Eagles, my friend.
The best part, a buddy of mine was our buddy Alex. You know, our buddy Alex was over at my place. He looks at my Michael Gallup jersey behind me. He's like, "Has the boy even caught a pass this year?" What does he do? He catches a touchdown pass.
Well, but also made a really nice pass along the sideline too. Nice deep ball from Dak. Great throw and an impressive catch as well. Like that boy's balling out, man. Your boy Dak Prescott. He's looking an MVP-esque, quarterback right now. He really is. Like this guy's playing just about as good as football as anyone in the game. He's playing football as well as the Hughes brothers are playing hockey right now. Like he's balling out, man. Balling out.
I got to enjoy some lasagna, homemade lasagna with the game.
Oof, attaboy, Dave. Attaboy. At a card show.
I saw you were at the card show this weekend.
Yeah, a card show this weekend, which was decent. It was decent. Sold some cards. I created these holiday mystery packs. I spent like 3 hours putting them together. And I thought, oh, this might be cool. Maybe some people buy them as like gifts for, Christmas or the holidays, or perhaps it could be, a stocking stuffer for people. No one bought any. Waste of time. But if anyone's interested, I could ship them out. If anyone is, let us know. Reach out to me on Twitter, perhaps, at Mickey_Canuck. Let's get into what happened over the weekend, though, for the Maple Leafs, because, dude, pretty impressive victory. 4-0. Ilya Samsonov had his flu game. Or could we call it the flu game for Samsonov? Comes back, hadn't played in like 2-3 weeks, was not even practicing all week because he was sick. And then all of a sudden, due to the injury to Joseph Woll, he's thrust back into the game and had to make a start. 18 for 18. First shutout of the season for Ilya Samsonov.
You couldn't have asked for, considering all the talk about what the Leafs were going to do with Joseph Woll down. It's now all on the shoulders of Martin Jones and Ilya Samsonov. And Ilya goes out and is like, "You keep things tight in front of me, I will keep that puck out of the net."
Exactly.
And he did that.
And that's really what the story of the game was. Like, yes, Ilya Samsonov credited with the shutout, but didn't face a whole lot of pressure, right? Like, there wasn't a lot of really quality chances that the Nashville team was able to muster up. I think throughout the entire game, Toronto gave up just 6 high danger chances. That's, through 60 minutes in all situations, just 6 high danger chances. So, defensively, they were much more stout than we'd seen this team. I think this was a pretty tidy, clean win. It's a game we've been asking for. Like, okay, you go into the second period, instead of just kind of laying flat, okay, let's see if you can add to that lead, right? Try and make it 3-0 and then 4-0 and really put the game away. And I felt that was, what Toronto was able to do here.
Yeah, we needed a game where they go into that third period and there was no doubt they were winning the game. How many times have they gone into a game where you're literally on the edge of your seat until the end because it's tough. I want to say there's no faith in the Leafs being able to hold the lead, but it has been very tough to expect any lead to be safe, right? 2-goal leads, 1-goal leads. This was that type of game where you needed to see if this Leafs team could finally bunker down and tell their opponent either we're gonna really pour in on the offense to make sure that you're not going to have any chance to come back in this game, or we're actually going to shut things down defensively. They did a little bit of both, but this is how a team like Toronto is supposed to beat a team like Nashville. Overmatch them, make them realize we are the better team. It says it on paper, and it's going to show on the ice as well.
Yeah, and look, Nashville, credit to them because they've been coming in, red hot. They had won like 7 or 8 of the last 10 games. They were on a 3-game winning streak. Like Nashville's playing some of the best hockey in the NHL, and that's why, like truth be told, I was a little concerned going into this game. Like Samsonov, hasn't played in a few weeks. Was he going to be rusty? You look at the injuries to the blue line. How's that going to work out? And nothing was really adding up to the performance that we got, but then I started to think back, like this is a very much an in hindsight thought, but it was reminiscent to remember last year when Morgan Riley went down and then TJ Brody went down and like that blue line just got depleted. But then all of a sudden they started winning games and like Justin Hall stepped up and Giordano stepped up and this team just kind of bound together and played a solid team defense. You had the forwards coming back and helping and they were very well connected throughout the process in the game. And I felt like that's kind of what we saw happen here in Nashville, where they knew it had to be a by committee thing. They couldn't just let Samsonov have to be Superman, much like Joseph Woll has been. They had to really help this guy out tonight or on Saturday night. And I felt that they did that. Like they didn't give up anything. They only gave up 18 shots all game. Which I believe is a season low for shots given up by the Maple Leafs. So, they were real solid. Like you could call it maybe the best team win of the year last night. Like you got all 6 defensemen who were playing well. You've got 4 lines that were rolled. Like I thought the 4th line was good last night. David Kampf, with a goal as well. Really nice goal actually off the rush. Like Nylander-esque type of goal off the rush. You had a couple of goals by Matthews. So you're getting scoring throughout the lineup as well. So real solid team win for the Maple Leafs over the Nashville Predators. You do love to see it.
Yeah, and when you look at that game, and yeah, you said it pretty much, like the 4th line going as it was. You had Austin Matthews scoring. You had like him winning. I think he won like 10 of 16 faceoffs.
Yeah,
like those are as impressive as him continuing to score is. That's what makes him different than some of these other star players, is how he can dominate in those other areas of the game, right? And then you brought up the shot totals. Like we've seen games where literally the game against the Senators, they allowed I think way more than 18 in a period, right? Like this was something I think that's an important. I know that shots on goal aren't everything. It's also chances on that and things like that. They didn't give Nashville anything. Like if you were a Nashville Predators fan watching that game, you're probably a little disgusted that you couldn't muster up more against this Leafs team.
yeah.
Like let's be
Here are the underlying numbers for the game here, Dave. The Leafs outshot Nashville 37-18. The scoring chances were 42-20. High danger chances 17-6. The Leafs with 4.71 expected goals. Nashville just 1.78 expected goals on the night. So a pretty dominant tilted win for Toronto.
Yeah, and hopefully it's a win that they can build off of.
Have to. And that's been like we've seen this team come around and a game here, a game there, and it's like, okay, that's something to build off of. Let's see what they can do. And then they'll come out and then they'll lose to Ottawa and give up, 40 shots and only get like 20 themselves. It's where you're sitting there, you're scratching your head. You're like, I thought they were ready to take the next step and get going. But obviously, sometimes they haven't. We need to see a stretch here. And again, this is where I think back to last year, and that's kind of when the Leafs got going as a team. They went on that stretch it was like December too. It was like similar timing actually when the defensive injuries started to pile up. And I think even you saw Matt Murray go down around this time last year, and then this is when Samsonov had to take the net and run with it. So it's very reminiscent to what happened a year ago. Hopefully, we can get similar results. So you saw it start that way against Nashville with a 4-0 win, and they've got New York tonight. The Islanders, Toronto going down for a quick little back-to-back against the Islanders and Rangers. We'll preview that game in a little bit, but hopefully they can bring that same energy, that same game down to New York because this Toronto team, there's still an opportunity for as inconsistent and somewhat poor as they've played for good stretches throughout this season so far. They're still in a great spot. Like they're still very much within reach of not just the playoff spot, but still in reach to win this division, Dave. Like it's still a possibility. Like they're what 5-6 points out of a playoff spot or out of the division spot right now. Like there's a strong chance that Toronto, if they can go on a run, can put themselves in a pretty good spot there. They're 7 points out of the top of the Atlantic, but have 2 games in hand on Boston. So there's definitely still an opportunity for this team. If they can get on a run and get rolling, that division is still very much in a possibility for this team. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll go through the 3 stars of the game. We've got an update on Joseph Woll as well. So we know a little bit of a timeline and what exactly the injury was to the Leafs. Netminder will tell you that update in just a sec and tee up tonight's game between the Maple Leafs and the New York Islanders. But first, I do want to tell you guys about one of today's show sponsors. It's eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings you the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're betting rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the price you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DeStefano and Dave Morassutti. We're reacting to the weekend win. The Maple Leafs beat the Nashville Predators by a score of 4-0. A shutout for Ilya Samsonov. Where does he rank amongst the 3 stars of the game? Well, let's dive into it, Dave. Let's start with the 3rd star of the night. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was my 3rd star. I thought, a shutout, generally you should be top star, but like this was one
Quiet
of the
shutout, right?
It was a quiet shutout because he got fortunate a little bit. There were a couple of posts, like the posts were his best friend. The crossbar was his best friend as well. All of them were best friends of his in this game, right? So sometimes when you're good, you're lucky as well. So I thought it was a quiet night. We needed a quiet Samsonov night because I feel like too often in games he's looked out of sorts. He's looked like he's trying to do too much, and that feeling doesn't sit well usually with the team when your goaltender's not exactly comfortable in his net. So I thought that was important for Samsonov.
Well, it's funny. I was having a chat with a buddy of mine after the game, and because we were talking about Samsonov, and I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if he played better sick because he didn't have as much energy as he typically does. And he wasn't swimming all around the crease, and he wasn't as active in the crease because he just didn't want to use any extra movement. And it actually allowed him to stay in the net and make stops throughout the game. So I wonder if him being sick actually helped his game kind of dial it in and stay limited movements and stay where he had to be. But yeah, I had Samsonov as my third star as well. Just because when you think back and you think about if there were many like 10 bell saves, no, like maybe like two like really good stops, I think. That you can look at and say, okay, that was a good save. That was one that I had pegged to be a goal that they made that stop. So I thought that because it was a little bit of a quieter shutout, third star was probably appropriate. Did save 1.78 goals above expected, so that is pretty solid for Samsonov despite the light workload. But yeah, third star is what I decided to give Samsonov. Second star.
Second star for me was Connor Timmins.
Oh, okay, I like it.
I liked his game. Like he hasn't looked. Obviously, he hasn't looked like the Connor Timmins that we saw in the right preseason.
Con or Timmins.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Connor Timmins yet, but played about almost 19 minutes in this game. Like got more ice time, and he's the reason why David Camp got in on that breakaway, the heads up pass to set him free, right? I mean, David Camp has to score the goal. But yeah, I thought like I didn't really have any issues with this game, right? I think when he was on the ice, especially at 5-on-5, the Leafs had a really the expected goals rate. I think was over. I think it was like 81.
I can tell you in 2 seconds.
Those are
81.
so those were the performances he needed to have, because with the injuries to this blue line, and we know that there's no quick solution coming, there's been talk about these guys have to continue to punch above their weight. But I think for Connor Timmins he hasn't been punching above his weight. He hasn't even been punching at his weight since he's been here. So I think he's deserving of a little bit of a shutout here.
Yeah, only gave up was only on the ice for how many shots against? Just one? Yeah. Only on the ice for one shot against tonight for Connor Timmins at 5-on-5. And he had a really nice assist too, just a nice up on the who did he pass it to? Whose goal was it? Was it Camp's goal?
It was Camp's goal, yeah.
Yeah. So really nice up on Camp's goal to kind of spring him in for that breakaway. So yeah, I thought that he had a pretty solid game. There's no glaring mistakes on his part, and just kind of good at getting the puck out of his zone, and that's kind of what he's best at doing, right? Is making sure that he can transition the puck up, a good first pass, and we saw that tonight. All right, I had Matthews as my third star, or as my second star of this game. Had a couple of goals in the game, which is nice to see. He's now one back of Kucherov for the league lead again, so he's right up there. He keeps himself in that mix for the Rocket Richard once again. He had 4 shots on net, couple hits, but you mentioned the faceoff wins. Winning 10 faceoffs is key. Like when Matthews is winning draws and they're getting possession, I think that's when this line is performing at its best. When they have the puck in the offensive zone and they're able to kind of snap it around that way. When that line was out there, when Matthews was on the ice at 5-on-5, outchanced Nashville 13-5. So he was definitely an offensive force tonight. 69% expected goal rating as well. And a two-way game. The two-way game was dialed in for Matthews as well. So I decided to give him second star tonight.
Yeah, I actually had the top line as my first star.
There you go.
I thought they were. I mean, obviously the production was there. 2 goals from Matthews. Willie Nylander had a couple of assists. I thought Matthew Nice was really good in this game.
Yeah, he had a couple chances to score too.
Yeah, like this was a like the top line since they made the switch hadn't like we've been talking a lot about how Marner and Tavares and Bertuzzi have looked pretty good. They've looked like the more cohesive unit
Yeah.
personally, like from what I've seen. This was a game where I think the top line needed to have like this was a good performance from to show that they're all good players. Like it takes
Yes.
time for them all to get get the cohesiveness together, and I think that was important to have like Nylander and Matthews to really show the chemistry that they have had in the past. Right? I thought
Yeah.
that's what I thought was important for them.
And when those guys are, like, going in on a 2-on-1, like you saw happen, that's the goalie has to make a decision. Like, okay,
Oh yeah,
is Willie gonna shoot? Is he gonna dump it off? Like, it's gotta be, mind-numbing if you're a goaltender, not knowing exactly what's gonna happen. Like, when that's Matthews and Marner, you could probably cheat a little bit as a goalie knowing, like, all right, 80% of the time, Marner passes off, right? Like Marner's not going to shoot this. He's going to get it to Matthews. So I can kind of cheat a little bit and start going over towards him. But when it's Matthews and Nylander coming in on a 2-on-1, like you don't really know where that puck is going, right? So you got to be honest to the guy carrying the puck in Nylander. But then when last second slides it over to Matthews, there's quite a bit of space open it within the net for him to tap it in there. So that's what you can have out of this top line when they're transition games in order and they're making plays, they're turning pucks over, and then getting some odd man rushes the other way. That's when I think this top line can be most dangerous. And yeah, we saw it. I was surprised the Matthew Nyes late in the game when they were in on that 2-on-1 and Nylander passed the puck up to Nyes and he got tripped up and he got a penalty. I thought for sure that was going to be a penalty shot. Am I wrong? Like, did you expect a penalty shot?
I
I
did.
fully thought we were about to see, a
I was
point
like,
to
wait,
center
that's not,
ice.
we're not playing safety here. We're not
Yeah,
playing
now it's
football.
safety. Now I was thinking safety. A point to center ice for a penalty shot. I thought for sure we were going to see that.
Yeah, I thought so. I was waiting for it, and I'm like, the guy was on a clear cut breakaway. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
look, credit McDonough for breaking up the chance, but you did it illegally, and usually those are getting a penalty shot because he was
yeah,
in alone and he prevented a score. He prevented a scoring chance. So
yeah.
I also knew that as soon as they got the 2-0, I said, yeah, the Leafs aren't converting on this because they generally don't convert on those types of chances.
Yeah. Yeah. I gave my first star, by the way, to David Camp, who I thought had a really, really good game. Had 5 shots on goal on the night and scored a really, really nice goal, rush goal and just flipped it over the goaltender. And Ilya Samsonov was joking around afterwards. He's like, yeah, I've been working with, David after practice and he's been doing some good stuff. You wait, he's going to be unleashed. It was kind of funny, but overall, I thought that he had a really solid game on both ends of the ice. I guess he's more known for his defensive structure, obviously, but tonight I thought that that fourth line had some really good shifts out there, played well. No, Gregor, scored as well. I know it was technically at the end of the game, but he did score. But a 70% expected goals for David Camp out there tonight as a fourth liner. That's what you want to see. And after the game, you heard Sheldon Keefe say, I trusted playing that line tonight. And look, there's not a lot of nights where he's trusted that fourth line of Camp, Reeves, and Gregor. Let's give Reeves a little, he was not terrible tonight, Saturday night. Not a detriment at the very least. And yeah, so I thought David Camp and the fourth line played well. So I wanted to give them some love as well and give them the first star of the night.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing only issue I have with David Camp's game is the faceoff. Still, like the faceoff numbers for
Yeah.
still not great for him. But I mean, that goal, when I saw the goal, I'm like, David Camp, like
That's
really
back-to-back games now with a goal too. Like he's, I'm not expecting
important
him
goal
to.
too, right? He kickstarted the offense. They weren't like this is like I'm like, are we really good? Is this really how this game's gonna go? We're not gonna get any offense. And then David Camp's like, no, hold my beer. I got you. Right? Like it was a great goal. And it shows that David Camp has like that's something. There's a reason why he got paid a little bit more. Like he's not your typical fourth liner that doesn't put up offense. He can put up offense. It's just doesn't get the opportunities to put up offense, right? But as
Yeah.
you said, like back-to-back games with a goal, and those are the types of plays that when we saw David Camp first come to Toronto, I was like, oh, this guy actually can play, right? Like he continues to surprise in many ways.
Yeah, it's Camp is an interesting fella. And much like most players, a lot of it comes down to confidence. And when he's playing with confidence and a little swagger, he shows okay, maybe he is worth close to the 2 million that he's being paid when he has games like he did Saturday night. But again, need to see that more consistency game after game. And perhaps there's another opportunity to do it tonight against the Islanders. Let's come back. Let's tee up that game. We'll give you an update on Joseph Woll as well. Before we get into all that, though, I want to tell you guys about one of today's sponsors, and it's our good pals over at Sleeper. A new NHL season brings all sorts of possibilities. Matthews could score 50 goals, the Leafs could hoist the Stanley Cup, and you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, and especially daily fantasy hockey. Because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like McDavid or Crosby, Matthews, Nylander, perhaps John Tavares will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Leaf fans. You can win 100 times your bet by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use and details and locational availability. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. It's Mike DeStefano and Dave Morisuti. We've got a game tonight, New York Islanders, and then the Rangers tomorrow. So a quick trip down to New York before coming back and hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Islanders tonight is who they'll be taking on, and obviously it'll be Ilya Samsonov in net once again, trying to build off that shutout performance that he had over the weekend against the Nashville Predators. We did get an update on Joseph Woll, though. A high ankle sprain, and he's going to be week to week. I'll be honest, Dave. This is probably better news than I was expecting, I think. Like, it
Yeah,
looked worse when he left the game than just like a high ankle week to week type of thing.
I think when you look at how he couldn't put any weight on the injury, and I was expecting like hip or groin potentially.
Well, it looked like it might have been like a knee injury. Like it didn't
Yeah, or
even.
even a knee injury. Like we heard, I think somebody said that could be a knee injury, and I'm just like, I was hoping for something like this, and I mean, you hate to say that, but it's just like considering what it could have been. High ankle sprain is probably the best case scenario, and look, this is where injuries like this, it's tough to always speculate, as you always say, because you won't know until you get imaging done. Like I look at it also like I'm bringing an NFL reference, but Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Oh, is this guy going to be out long term?" He was playing the next Sunday with an ankle sprain. Now it's a little different for an NHL goaltender or an NHL player to play with an ankle sprain. They shouldn't play with an ankle sprain. I don't think any athlete should play with an ankle sprain, but I'm glad it's just an ankle sprain because it's something that, yeah, it might hamper him. They're gonna have to treat this right, but I mean they're gonna have some time off eventually with the holidays and things like that. That Joseph Woll will likely get his opportunity to heal, and the Leafs aren't gonna rush him back. I'll tell you that because he has had an ankle injury in the past, so that's something they're gonna have to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, probably won't see him again for like a couple of weeks, maybe even the new year, perhaps before that. But it sounds as though a couple of weeks here for Joseph Wall. And look, if Samsonov can take the ball and run with it here, I mean, and then there's no rush for Joseph Wall to get back into it, and he can kind of take his time. If the team's winning games and if Samsonov's playing well, he can make sure that he rehabs it properly, so that there's no remnants when he returns, and no risk of re-injuring that ankle. So that's the update on Joseph Wall. Don't expect to see him in the Leafs crease anytime soon. Definitely not for another few weeks at the very least. So hey, it's Sammy's net to take, and I believe he'll be in net for tonight's game against the New York Islanders. So they head to New York in tonight's game. Go ahead,
Yeah, I
Dave.
couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if they had said Jones was in tonight and Samsonov was tomorrow. It's a back to back. You're gonna
Yeah,
see
did
both.
they announce it? I didn't think they did. They announce something yesterday?
I thought I saw something that it would have been Jones against the Islanders, but maybe I was maybe just reading somebody's prediction of how
Uh,
they would do it.
yeah, I mean, it could be possible just because, like, I would probably go to Samsonov for two reasons. So here we're gonna have this discussion then ourselves. I would go Samsonov. A, he's coming off a shutout. Want to get him back into the net, and B, you can go back to, like, an old Babcockism, but I think two things ring true. You play the starter on your first night. Hopefully, you pick up the 2 points. And then on the second night of a back to back, your backup goes in and, you kind of roll the dice. But also, play your starter in the game where you stand the biggest chance to win, also, which to me would be against the Islanders over the Rangers. So, play your starter against the Islanders. Give yourself the best chance to pick up the 2 points in that game, and then kind of roll the dice with New York, maybe with Martin Jones. Would you do it a different way? Do you expect the
No,
Leafs to
I
do
would
it?
like with the back to back. You should always go with your starter for the first game, and the Islanders. Like, let's not sleep on the Islanders. They've had some very impressive wins, also some very brutal losses. But like, they beat the Kings. They handed the
Yeah.
Kings their first road loss of the year. That's a team you can't take lightly, right? You want to always play well for John Tavares when he's back on Long Island. So I do think going with Samsonov the first night would make the most sense. And then you're gonna have to play Martin Jones anyways. I know the Rangers are a really good team, but you got to play your guy. You can't protect in a back-to-back situations. One of the guys is going to be thrown to the wolves, so let Martin Jones handle the second half of the back-to-back.
Yeah, just look on Daily Faceoff. It looks like it's, an unconfirmed who the starter's going to be. So I don't think they named one um, for tonight just yet. But I personally think Samsonov would be the correct choice. And then, tomorrow go throw out Martin Jones. Play a little bit in Philly, so he knows the Rangers, I suppose. For the short time he was in Philly last year. All right. Something else to keep an eye on for tonight against the Islanders. All eyes are going to be on John Tavares. He's going back to his old barn. Well, actually, technically, no. UBS Center, right, was not there when Tavares was there, but going up against his former team. The house that Johnny built, perhaps, is that's what some are saying, right? That's what some are saying. It's the house that Johnny built. He's on milestone watch right now. He's sitting on 998 points. And wouldn't it be just poetic for him to get to point 1,000 against his former team in the New York Islanders tonight?
It would be poetic if he were to do it tonight. I would love nothing more than to see John Tavares. I would like to see what the reaction would be too. Like, would they? I don't think they'll acknowledge it, but it would be interesting to see what the reaction would be, considering they haven't been too kind to good old Johnny T when he returns.
I feel like they might. I feel like they might. I don't know. I get the sense that
You have to remember, it's just New York. New York likes to hold a grudge sometimes when it comes to their
that's true.
former their former players.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mm.
This is a team. This is a fan base that threw plastic snakes at this guy. Let's not forget. I'm never gonna
I would
forget.
hope. I'd like to think that they give this guy a round of applause if he gets, has a 2-point performance, gets to 1,000. So majority of those, that 1,000 points was scored in an Islanders uniform
Yeah.
with the C on his chest, right? Like give him a little bit of love on a big milestone. It's not just this isn't a Toronto milestone. This is a Islander milestone as well, right? Like most of that was done that production was done when he was with their team. So that fan base watched a lot of those points help the Islanders won some games back in the day. So I would hope that they at least put aside their differences for a couple of minutes and maybe if they realize maybe there's a little bit of a clap, a little quiet golf clap for John Tavares tonight. But we'll see. Do you think he does it? I think he does it. I do. I think that they're going to be.
I think he like. There's a lot of talk about it too. So I think the team will be like, let's get Johnny his 1,000 on Long Island.
That's what I think. Like it's a money on the board type of night where it's like, boys, if we do anything tonight, first and foremost, let's pick up 2 points for the team, but then let's also try and pick up 2 points for Johnny. Like
Exactly.
that. Let's do it for Johnny. Do it for Johnny. Go back to the old Outsiders reference there. All right, should be a fun game though. I'm excited for it. Islanders are, they're a good team, and they've been winning some hockey games lately against some pretty quality clubs too.
Among the top teams in the Metro. No,
yeah,
they're in the top 3.
Yep. Are they top 3 now? Yeah, they've rattled off a bunch of wins.
Sorry, they're 4th now because the Capitals have a game. Capitals have a game in hand, but they're tied technically in points for 3rd.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So it's a good club, good team. Should give Toronto a bit of a test, but hey, you know what? This is the type of team that the Leafs are able to win against. They are able to take advantage of squads like this. So let's see if they can parlay a solid performance against Nashville into a second victory here tonight against New York and try and pick up the first win in night 1 of a back-to-back. We'll reconvene tomorrow. We'll tee up night 2 of the back-to-back and recap tonight's game as well. So that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all podcast platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on X at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morisuti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. Go ahead, leave a like if you enjoyed this video on YouTube and a comment down below as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. We'll be back with another episode for you all tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.